Brew?
You can't say that. Particularly when you had 7 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, and a 68 passer rating for the season.
Right.
Now, and that's this type of stuff that makes coaches, I would imagine, Coach, cringe when you hear that and you know what type of year he had. Now, I did, of course, watch a bulk of this to see the context leading up. I will say, I think what he was saying was he talked about flashes. He literally used that word.
Yes.
And I think he was saying I showed flashes, which he did, you know, some 60-yard touchdowns and the big game against Tennessee over 300 yards, where that made him believe I can dominate. But he did say I got to be consistent and get to the point where I can do it consistently. So I think he meant, I think it came off a lot worse than it actually was, but it comes off terribly. And so I think he is into, I'm just speculating, but I think he's into like positive self-speak, you know, like speaking things. And you can kind of see the way he's hit, right? Like he's always talking positive. So I think that's how he builds himself up and keeps the belief this season when the team didn't seem to even want him there. So I think that's good, but this just sounds terrible, and it puts more pressure on you to go out there and perform at a high level.
When my kids say something wild, I'm going to call you up and say, hey, Brew, how can you frame this in a way that's going to make me feel okay?
I'm the motivator.
Yeah,
I'm the motivator.
That's going to make me feel okay about it. And then they're going to say, oh, well, Eric, it was just positive self-speak. He was trying to speak it into existence, and that's why he did it. Oh, okay, well, I feel better about it then. I think this is what got him in trouble in the draft process, and it's going to be something that continues to get him in trouble. But the flip side of it, somehow he's in the Pro Bowl. I mean, the Browns had
he's a Pro Bowler.
The Browns had 2 Pro Bowlers there, you know, which I guess is why Kevin has a new address. But you talked about what he did this season. You forgot the 56% completion percentage.
Barely ahead of Drake in the playoffs.
And you forgot about the 9.7% of the time he was sacked. So he was sacked almost 10% of the time. His 3-4 record. But I just missed the cut-ups of the dominant play that he's talking about. There were some things that were really encouraging, and he should be happy about the encouraging things he did. But to say that you can dominate the league, that is...
I do like that he said I proved in Brew's favor. I proved to myself. He's talking about how he feels.
Right.
And here's the deal. Here's where I'm at on Shedeur. And I think he is best understood through this lens. Because I do think he means well. And he is, you guys know, I'm a sucker for charming. And I do think he's charming. And I do think
like a nice
I
guy.
do think he's a nice, that's what I'm saying. I do think he's a nice guy, all these things.
If Fernando Mendoza said this, we would be like, buddy.
No, but here's the way to me to view Shedeur, and it makes a lot of things make a lot more sense. He's just a rich kid. He's a rich, famous kid who doesn't quite know how, like, lucky he's been in a lot of ways. And I feel like this is the type of outlook and almost eternal optimism we see a lot from rich people's children. And I think that Shedeur, because he's been his own celebrity, you have to just remind yourself, like, he grew up Deion Sanders' son with everything that goes along with it and acts the way I grew up around a lot of rich kids. My kids go to school around a lot of rich kids. I see a lot of those traits of just kind of, what are you about to say?
You have rich kids.
Well, I guess, yeah, sure. But
if your kid brings home gets a C- on a test, like, what did this C- prove to you? Like, I can dominate.
Right.
Well, I got answer number 3 right, which seems to me.
I gotta make it good.
All right. Honestly, I believe the commentator's perspective is actually quite insightful, and I'm aware he'll likely receive significant backlash for it. People are going to become agitated because, regardless of the discourse we have concerning this player, it invariably stirs strong emotions. What can you do? It's a compelling situation because I find myself conflicted in several respects. There is a definite element where I concur that this player occasionally becomes entangled in his own rhetoric, a point I've addressed previously. I just discussed this the other day. Not every individual is destined to excel in front of a microphone. Merely being a professional athlete or having attained considerable success in life does not inherently equip you with the aptitude to deftly navigate public relations, media interactions, and the spotlight. Everyone possesses distinct skill sets. A prominent media personality like Colin Cowherd will naturally be more proficient than virtually any NFL figure at handling a microphone. I observe certain coaches and players and feel entirely confident that I could stand before the press on behalf of any franchise and deliver more coherently than many of them, even if I were fabricating the entire response. You could position me as a representative for the Cleveland Browns, pose a question like, "What are your thoughts on the current situation?" And I'd respond with, "Things are progressing excellently. We're putting in tremendous work, deeply engaged in film study, and I'm genuinely excited. We've identified several key areas over recent weeks, and I'm eager to implement adjustments." I could articulate points more fluidly, rapidly, and effectively than numerous coaches or athletes we hear stumbling through their responses. That happens to be my particular competency. Their expertise lies in executing football at the highest conceivable level. Therefore, I don't presume everyone will possess media polish, and I think this is a domain where the player in question can sometimes encounter difficulties. However, I also contend that some of his statements offer a window into his cognitive framework and self-perception. He has delivered some commendable moments and executed spectacular plays. Yet, a handful of impressive highlights does not validate to oneself the capacity to dominate the league. I've reiterated this point endlessly. Backup quarterbacks, signal callers who will never be considered special in the NFL, all possess highlight reels. I could unearth a Spencer Rattler clip that elicits, "That's a Patrick Mahomes play." Gardner Minshew sparked a mania. This is the genesis of backup quarterback fever. Fitzmagic, Minshew mania, Nick Foles heroics. Every third-string quarterback can produce a moment that leaves you astonished. The subsequent proclamation, "I have to be more consistent," is precisely the gateway to greatness. Consistency is the defining hallmark of elite performance. It is the fundamental reason backup quarterbacks remain in backup roles. Baker Mayfield has authored some phenomenal plays and had spectacular instances, but the overarching critique is his inability to replicate that excellence consistently. Even a supporter like Dan Orlovsky has emphasized, stop treating Baker Mayfield as if he's Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen, because he is not, and that misperception leads to complications. Thus, his statement essentially distills to, "I need to be great, and subsequently, I will achieve greatness." It's akin to declaring, "I simply must execute more of the very attribute that constitutes true greatness." Therefore, his assertion, "I prove to myself I'm able to dominate the league," is a peculiar declaration. I am indifferent to the degree of his support system, his intended meaning, or any attempt to speak an outcome into existence. You can absolutely engage in that internal manifestation. It does not necessitate broadcasting it to the masses. One can utilize positive self-talk and affirmation privately. It doesn't require public proclamation. As the commentator noted, I can envision coaches and players potentially disapproving. I assure you, teammates likely react with, "What?" The ecosystem of professional sports is a stark arena of real recognized real and survival of the fittest, a realm of put up or shut up. That is its intrinsic nature. I also suspect some of the positive interactions and support this player receives from certain teammates are partially influenced by the stature and persona of his father, Deion Sanders. I don't hold that against him. Personally, I was not raised in affluence. It would have been intriguing, but that wasn't my reality. And I am certainly not wealthy now, though I am rich in love and profoundly grateful. I completely comprehend that one cannot expect this player to have the most grounded, realistic worldview when he was born into an environment where his father is an all-time football legend. When your immediate frame of reference is that level of preordained possibility, your perspective is inevitably shaped differently. My own upbringing instilled in me a belief that I could achieve anything, yet my father also delivered a crucial lesson I'll never forget. No matter how much you practice, you will never be as skilled as Michael Jordan. I questioned it, but he was adamant. You can practice incessantly. you will never reach that level. That was a vital understanding for me, that hard work is paramount. But there will always be individuals inherently superior, and that acknowledgement isn't self-doubt, it's realism. However, if my father were Michael Jordan, my mindset would understandably be, my father accomplished it. Why can't I? Combine that with financial security, unparalleled access, and a father whose persona is inherently confident, outspoken, and declarative, and the player's mindset is entirely logical within his context. Nevertheless, encountering humility is a necessary experience. I would hope his initial exposure to the NFL has served as more of a humbling lesson rather than confirmation of his ability to dominate. This distinction is critically important to me. I've attempted to personalize this reflection. Had I experienced escalating success from an extremely young age, my own pronouncements might seem outlandish because I would have lacked humbling experiences. I was humbled at 17, 18, 19 through failure, by not being adequate to progress to the next tier, by not securing a lucrative contract, by not having powerful figures affirm my value. Had I received that validation early, I would be a fundamentally different person. If my father had been immensely wealthy, providing a safety net, my perception of risk would be altered. I recall relocating to Southern California with absolutely zero safety net. If situations deteriorated, my parents could potentially assist in an extreme emergency, but there was no foundational wealth to fall back on. Facing financial emergencies involving mere hundreds of dollars was a genuine struggle. That lived experience, frankly, feels more formative and legendary in building character than what this player has yet encountered. Extending this personal analogy to my video creation. When I produced my first videos that garnered genuine viewership, I was astounded. While I believed in my capabilities, that initial success didn't translate to, I have proven to myself I can dominate. It merely illuminated what was possible. I didn't even feel I had proven anything to myself. I viewed it through a lens of fortune and gratitude, that people were even interested. My mindset wasn't, I am inevitable, but rather, there are forces at play. Many creators are more talented, yet for various reasons, they lack an audience. I am fortunate to have found some traction, but I am perpetually conscious that audience interest could diminish. The player's demeanor doesn't seem to account for these nuanced, humbling realities. The paramount lesson he should internalize from his nascent NFL experience is that this profession is profoundly challenging. That should be the primary takeaway, that he has demonstrated he isn't a complete catastrophe. But any notion of domination, even established legends like Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady, don't articulate themselves in that manner. Individuals who have genuinely dominated the league don't speak in those terms. This is the core of such analytical conversations. I am fully anticipating the comments will be distorted and amplified. You're just upset this young man has confidence. That has no bearing on the argument. Regardless of his statements, critics will have reactions. My challenge to viewers is this: attempt to engage with the substance of the discussion itself. Try to comment, particularly if you disagree, without resorting to, no matter what he says, people criticize, or, you're just mad he's confident. Endeavor to actually dissect the conversation at hand. But those are merely my perspectives. I am absolutely eager to hear yours. What do I know? I'm just someone from a modest background without wealth who hasn't achieved anything remotely comparable to what this player has, which is an objective truth. Let me know your thoughts. I read every single comment. Whether you agree with me or disagree with me, let's engage in some discussions. Let's have some spirited debates. But ultimately, let's simply enjoy the conversation. Please consider subscribing. We are building a fantastic community here and would absolutely love for you to be a part of it. My goal is to foster something we all feel genuinely connected to, something we are excited to participate in. I believe we are well on our path to achieving that. Also, please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. It genuinely assists with visibility and the platform's algorithm. Thank you so very much. See you next time.